Hello adventurers, my name is Diogo Guerra and this is OFFroad-OFFcourse. This little channel of ours is growing much faster than I ever thought possible. And although I'm still a very small sardine in a very big ocean, this pseudo-celebrity status has opened a few doors and given me some opportunities that I really had to seize in order to support myself and the channel. Long story short, I have been very busy and unable to put as much time and effort and care and love into the videos as I would love to and as you deserve. Nevertheless, for this week I was able to put together the story of the last few days on my trip to Angola. As I showed you in my first video, this little conjugal visit of mine turned out to be much more than that. It was quite an exciting, eye-opening and very fulfilling adventure that showed me some of the realities of this country. Angola has things that are absolutely wonderful and I will surely miss them, but also others that are quite sad and made me feel very grateful for the opportunities I had in life. Nevertheless, after all the good and the bad I've seen, I still think that adventurers should almost never heed to other people's warnings and opinions about traveling to foreign countries. After all, if we did listen to other people, we wouldn't be riding motorcycles in the first place. In these kind of countries, one can't be too naive, that's for sure. We must understand that some places are off limits and certain behaviors must be avoided. But I believe that luck favors the bold, and by using just a little bit of caution and some common sense, we can travel to and enjoy the beauty and the cultural shock these countries provide while feeling safe. Well, safe enough, which to me is the recipe of a great adventure. Before we continue though, I want to send a big hug for all the good people I met in the Portuguese Embassy, the Consulate and also the Instituto Camões. You guys know who you are. Thank you for the hospitality, for the laughs, for the awesome cultural and nerdy conversations, for all the information you shared, for the company, and for giving my girlfriend a home away from home. It was a real pleasure to meet you all. And well, for my last weekend in Angola, we decided to rent a car and drive all the way to the fabled Calandula Waterfalls, about 400 kilometers away from Luanda. There were 4 of us on this trip: Cristina, her colleagues Monica and Miguel, and I. Miguel drove first, taking us out of Luanda, and then it was my turn. And oh boy did I enjoy this little bit of African experience. The roads were broad, had almost no tight turns, and 90% of the pavement was actually quite acceptable. But the interesting part were the other 10%. That literally looked like they were bombarded. Randomly, out of nowhere, the road would have holes so deep that you could see the plumbing under the pavement. And often these huge craters would scar the road from side to side, forcing the cars to use both lanes in order to survive these deadly chicanes, creating even more challenges. I was having the time of my life. We spent the whole day driving, and I kept daydreaming how awesome it would be to make this trip on a motorcycle instead. Somehow we successfully crossed this 400-kilometer long minefield in one piece, and around dinner time we finally arrived to our destination, the Pousadas of Calandula. We slept in tents by the swimming pool, the cheapest and most adventurous option available. Did I mention that this was the cheapest option available? Yeah, so please don't forget to like, to subscribe and perhaps even to donate. I really need to make this channel work. Anyway, after assembling the tents, we came inside to explore this quaint hotel, which definitely had a very special vibe to it. We feasted on a savory and well-deserved meal while listening to the waterfalls, which were obviously nearby, yet completely invisible in the pitch-black night. So we decided to go to bed early, anxious to finally see what the morning had in store for us. Guys, today I'm really sad because I think that I have peaked in life. It cannot get better than this. So, the gentleman just informed us that there's a path somewhere along the jungle. It goes to that little lookout spot over there. So somehow we are going to cross the river through the jungle, and I'm very excited to that. One of the hotel's employees volunteered to guide us, and I'm very glad he did, because not only he helped us find the best viewpoints, he also explained a lot about the local flora and fauna. This tree, for instance, produces a sap so sticky that the locals use it to catch birds. So basically nature's duct tape. With 105 meters tall, these waterfalls are the second biggest in all Africa. They are huge, and that just becomes more evident the closer you get. As for the footpath through the jungle, it was quite amazing. It was our first time on an exotic African environment, and to be honest, it didn't disappoint one bit.
From 0 to Jurassic Park, 9.
Very nice. You see, I'm always expecting to feel disappointed with this kind of thing. From my experience, there was a big chance that this so-called jungle path was nothing but a little paved road with a handrail, maybe covered with flashing LED lights, and that I would be forced to wear a helmet and safety glasses just in case I bumped my stupid head into a tree branch or something like that. But no, God bless Africa and their lack of European standards. After a while, we finally made it to the other side. This is where João, the guide, gave us two options: either to go back the same way or to walk down to the river and try to cross it. The four of us immediately chose to cross the river. At first I was very optimistic and relaxed about the whole idea, but as soon as we got close to the water, I realized that, again, this was no ordinary tourist attraction. The rocks leading to the waterfalls were covered in very slippery mud and algae. And despite not being a stranger to this kind of activities, for about half an hour I felt like a baby deer learning to walk on ice. The guide told us that it was better to keep our socks on. I tried both ways, and both were terrible. Eventually, we managed to slide our butts from rock to rock like a dog with a butt hitch, until we got closer to the waterfall. It may not look like it, but inside this laundry machine was the most enjoyable part of this crossing, since at least here the stones were clean enough to finally offer some traction. It still wasn't easy, but it kind of felt that fate was back in our hands, not left to chance or to whatever god has jurisdiction over this kind of stuff. This was also when I had to stop and admire my girlfriend and her friends. People who usually don't seek these kind of thrills as actively as I do, and yet they were showing the guts and the will to enjoy this with a smile as big as mine. So proud of her. When we finally made it to the other side, again we had to face a long and dangerous section of muddy, slippery rocks. And then, just for good measure, a section of deep mud. This whole river crossing was one of the most exciting things I've ever done. I think I've kind of enjoy and miss these situations with no safety net, where the stakes are high and so the danger feels real enough, yet not so high that messing up involves dying immediately. I am pretty sure that my mother and my mother-in-law will love to hear this confession. Well, anyway, when we finally made it through, we found ourselves in one of the most beautiful and photogenic places I've ever seen in my life. What a reward! After this exhausting but very fulfilling adventure, we spent the rest of the day and another night chilling in the same hotel, which, by the way, has quite an interesting history. It was built in the 50s while Angola was still a Portuguese colony. Then it served as military headquarters for at least two of the factions fighting to take over the country after the Portuguese left. Then it was abandoned for almost 40 years, and it became a ruin consumed by the jungle. It took a lot of work, certainly, but somehow they managed to repair it and reopen about 5 years ago. And this is what we have today. A charming little place with a lot of personality and a not too shabby view. The next day we drove back to Angola and I flew back to Portugal after another couple of days and brought home lots of good memories, thoughts and a renewed desire to spend more time in Africa. If all goes well, early next year I want to travel again to Morocco and perhaps plan a trip a little bit further south, but we will see when we get there. I hope you enjoyed this video and as usual, please like, subscribe, hit the thingy and share. Share it with a friend who is an unadventurous peasant who refuses to go to Africa and perhaps he will change his mind. See you next week and happy rides!